I don't know if anybody's ever used Mentimeter. It's you can either use the website up top, or you can just use the QR code, get in, and just as other people kind of come in and I finish getting set up, just let me know. What's your favorite type of character? Yeah, well, with 5th edition, you can have all kinds of character types, so I just went with the basics. So we do have a little bit of a choose-your-own adventure today. And so if you want to participate, would love to have the help in determining which direction we're going to go throughout our time here. I gave them the whole slide deck. I doubt we're going to get to all 9 of the alignments in our conversation. And so look for that slide deck, and so that way you'll be able to just get some of the ideas that I had in the development of this. Wizard, yeah, that's not a surprise. Most people. Yeah. That was typically my go-to, is the paladin. Now in my latter years of gaming, I use paladin only because that's the one I know, and I don't want to have to try and learn something new. All right. A lot of what I wanted to kind of talk about, anybody who's ever been to any of my presentations here knows I don't do technical presentations. If you're looking for the latest in Python scripting or what the next cool tool is, that's not me. I'm in risk management, and I affectionately say that I am a businessman who really understands technology, and so that's the space that I work in, and so we're going to be talking a lot about personality and corporate culture and using these 9 alignments that are outlined in D&D, and some of the ideas of what we can do to help create the security program based on the type of people you're going to be working with. Years ago, and when I say years, I'm going to say, we'll just say it's more than 2 years. I went to school at San Diego State, and while I was down there, I got out of class, I was heading across campus, and I had a little bit of time, so I ducked into to take a look at the job boards. And that should tell you it was a lot more than 2 years ago, because they were index cards on a board, literally. And so when I walked in, they said, oh, hey, we have a company here that's doing interviews right now. And San Diego, I was in shorts and a t-shirt, and I said, I'm not dressed for an interview. Oh, don't worry about it. They understand. They're on a college campus. Just go in, and they won't hold that against you. So I went in, no resume, looking like a beach bum, and had a wonderful conversation with the gentleman. And then I got to that one question. If you can describe yourself in what word, what would that word be? And as true as I'm standing here, I said abnormal. I'm still waiting for him to call me back. Henry David Thoreau, in one of his poems, said if a man is not keeping pace with his companions, he's probably hearing the beat of a different drummer. That's where that, marching to the beat of different drummer comes from. And that's always been me. I don't do well in following the flock, whichever direction it's going. And so I look at things a little bit differently. I frustrate people, whether they're coworkers or people that have in the past reported to me, or I know that I've frustrated managers and bosses. I've been told that I have a cognitive bias, and that I think I'm right all the time, and I try and tell people I'm open to suggestions just as long as you can prove that I'm wrong. Good luck. And ultimately, we got to deal with people. And we work in cyberspace and a whole bunch of ones and zeros, but I so enjoyed Jason's keynote yesterday. And as he talked about, the strong need of securing the human, and what can we do to empower the people that we work with and protect our organization from those that are not quite as ethical. And so that's the bulk of our conversation today. I do want to give some thanks. Do want to give thanks to George Lucas. You're going to see a lot of images here as we go about some examples to kind of help frame the context of what I'm speaking at. So thanks to George Lucas. Thanks to DC Comics. I am a Batman fan. I've been a Batman fan for a long time. And the rest of DC Comics is okay. But thanks to Marvel. Of course, we're going to be talking about some of the historical figures and, show me with alignments. But thanks to the Klingons, okay? They bring some really great technology, too, for us. Okay, what color is this? How do you know? You looked at it, but how do you know it's red? Because we've been taught that, right? Okay, since you were little, right? Since most of you were just barely walking. This is red, okay? And it's from that point, when you're taught your primary colors, that your view and your world core beliefs begin to be formed, okay? And so when we think about the color red, what does red mean? What's that? It does depend on the context, okay? Red is associated with love and passion and strength. You know the power ties? What color are they predominantly? Red, right? Okay? But red is also associated with rage and danger. You come up to an intersection, what color is the stop sign? For danger, right? Okay. And if it's not a stop sign and it's a yield, what color is that yield sign? Yeah, yellow, because it's not so much danger, right? Okay. And what's the third one that we use in our color scheme? Red, yellow, and green. Yeah, and everybody knows that because it means something, right, in the culture that we have, okay? Red is assertive, but red is impulsive. Red is powerful and confident, but it's also primitive. And so we have the culture of red. And think about what these phrases mean. In the red versus in the black, finance, right? A red herring? Seen red? Anybody know what paint the town red is? No? Having a party. Yeah, going out and let loose, okay? red carpet treatment, and of course a red flag, right? So, same word, very, very different meaning based on the context with which you put that simple phrase in, right? Okay. So it's all about really just the culture. If we take a lot of those phrases and we were to go to Europe, maybe it's not going to quite mean the same thing. If we go to Southeast Asia, it may not mean the same thing, okay? And so it's really all driven by culture. Now, we have the grander culture. We've got Utah culture, we've got American culture, we've got culture that's derived from our family's nationalities and so forth. But in the context of our workplaces, there's a business culture. And that business culture is either shaped or it's created on its own, okay? Within this business environment, you have a lot of different personalities. Some of them are clean and neat. Some of them are not so clean and neat. Some of them are minimalists. They're not there in the office, and but 5 o'clock, I am gone. You know, they have their computers and their bags packed at 4:55 because when 5 o'clock hits, they're out the door, right? Of course, there are some people that they are there when you show up and they're there when you leave, you know, because that's their personality. They gotta get in and get that last thing done, right? Okay. But ultimately, if we intend to put on the good fight and be able to face that foe, we really do need a lot of different talents, tools, different approaches, viewpoints that, yes, we should welcome an open melting pot within our corporate culture so that way the corporation can succeed. Okay, so today we're talking about the alignments. And so it's, first, is there anybody in here who has not played Dungeons and Dragons? Okay, so let me explain about Dungeons and Dragons. Role-playing game, it was started in the 1970s. Gary Gygax and his friends, he's the one that's kind of credited for the creation of this. He had some friends that helped to form it. And it's fantasy, but my son is actually at the University of Utah studying game design, and almost every game today in turn play games has some roots back into Dungeons and Dragons. It was transformational in the way games are done. But within the Dungeons and Dragons world, there are 9 alignments, and they are derived from law to chaos, good to evil, and somewhere in between. Now, you can expand that somewhere in between to all kinds of shades of gray, but ultimately it just really kind of boils down into those 9 if you look at the matrix, okay? So for today's conversation, I do want to actually make sure that we have the same definition of what lawful means versus what chaotic means, good versus evil. So, for lawful, lawful is about following the rules. It may be about following the actual law. It may be about conforming to the policies and standards of the organization. It may be, to some extent, the melding of ideology with the group that's there on the team. But ultimately, it's about following the predefined structure of how we're going to move forward as a society, okay? Chaotic is just that. They do things different. it's all over the map, okay? I do not want to say that chaotic is necessarily inherently bad. I'm just saying it's not structured. I would say this last point over here, inconsistent, is probably the best definition, okay? You don't necessarily, yeah. Okay, their own set of rules not necessarily in line with the rules of society. Right. Okay. And yes, good versus evil, okay? In our context today, when we talk about good, we're talking about for the benefit not just of the corporation as an entity, but for the benefit of the good. That if we do our work that benefits the corporation, it's going to benefit all the employees, it's going to benefit the customers, it's going to benefit employee families, it's going to benefit the community. And that's what we're talking about with good, okay? Whereas with evil, this is self-centered. What's in it for me? And everything, all the decisions, all the work that's put into it is about my betterment as opposed to the betterment of anybody else. Okay, so here begins our choose your own adventure. Okay, we will go through, I'll go through a process of kind of resetting these, so that way we can come back and see what's next. But let me know, which alignment do you want to talk about first? A lot of rabble-rousers out there. Okay, last one. Okay, we'll go chaotic good first. We'll get to come back and maybe we'll do chaotic evil next, but okay, so chaotic good. Now again, if we go with our definitions, chaotic, we're going to do it by either our internal set of rules or we're just going to plow through head first into and it doesn't matter what kind of destruction is left in our wake, just as long as we get the job done, okay? So some of our kind of classic chaotic good. Good, this is for the benefit of society, the benefit of the organization, the benefit of other people, okay? You can argue with me on any of our superheroes and the alignments of them except for Batman. I like Batman, so Batman's chaotic good for me. Anybody know who the historical figure is? Thomas Jefferson. Yeah, he really did. But he spent an entire life bucking the system. Okay. He was the one that really, he had penned the Declaration of Independence. Let's kick the king out, right? Okay. And so what can we do as cybersecurity professionals, as risk managers, in order to develop a good security program for somebody in the organization who is chaotic good? Here's some thoughts of mine, okay? If we can put in a good framework for these people to work in, they like to kind of do things on their own, right? So let's just put guardrails up. Let them come up with ideas and solutions, but within some semblance of structure, and kind of keep them bouncing. Put those guardrails up when you go bowling. You always get a strike. It's that same kind of concept. I say agile, not so much that I'm talking about like the agile framework or anything like that, but the concept of agile is to shrink things down to short spurts of work. And so with these type of people that are chaotic, if we can shrink their focus just a little bit, then we can get better work production out of them, and they're not going to diverge into something else, right? Okay, but ultimately, even if they do start getting and bouncing off the walls, they still do have that. We're just doing it for the best of the company, okay? Automate as much as possible, and if we do that, then we reduce the amount of bouncing around that these people will do. Okay, because again, we're trying to focus their efforts and their energies. And of course, good asset management. If we know what we have, and I'm not just talking about devices, I'm talking about the software. I'm talking about not just the COTS type or the SaaS type of solutions, but if you do any development, what type of languages are you using? Is everything up to date? So understanding truly what your assets are, so that way when something chaotic enters into the environment, you can say, well, hey, what's this? Okay? Because with these type of people, something chaotic will show up. Oops, I'm sorry. Let me go back here. Oh, again, previous. Okay, so next alignment. Looks like people like good, and so they're moving away from evil and going more neutral. Maybe I spoke too soon. I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead and go. There's chaotic evil. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that one. And it's not like, there we go. Okay, chaotic evil. Now, so you may have noticed, wait a minute, this is the same guy as the last one, right? Yeah, so this guy shows up on all my slides, okay? And my point in this is you can't necessarily really tell what type of a personality you're dealing with by looking at them, okay? They could look good, smell good, talk good, okay? So you kind of have to get to know the people that you work with, okay? But this is our chaotic, evil employee. Quintessential joker, chaotic evil. So my kids don't know who the bottom right guy is. They're a little young. Anybody know who that is? Charles Manson, yeah, okay. You just look at those eyes and as otherworldly, right? So chaotic evil, the greatest chaotic evil in Star Wars. Okay, so you can see there, if you really truly have this type of person, get them out. Okay, I did work at a place where every day was something new. He wasn't dangerous. He wasn't. There wasn't necessarily a risk of active shooter or anything like that. But every day he came in, the doctor said this, and so therefore you need to change my workstation to that way. And this person said this, and what he was trying to do was he was trying to get us to fire him without cause so he can then file a lawsuit for wrongful termination. And I spent weeks crawling under his desk, unscrewing his cubicle to readjust it because it's going to be better for him, while HR and management put together a case of why this guy should be fired. Okay, so if you have somebody who's truly trying to take the company down, what's in it for me, and doing all kinds of things, just work with HR on this one, okay? Because there's not really a whole lot that you're going to be able to do in that kind of situation. All right. Okay, so looks like lawful good is next, right? Yeah, I'll give you a few minutes. I will have to say, I am surprised. I honestly thought that chaotic neutral would be one of the biggest ones, because everybody likes playing chaotic neutral because you can just do whatever you want. But, okay, looks like we'll go with lawful evil. Oh, a few more coming in. Hey, so some of you said chaotic good. Do you want to go back and talk about that again? No? Okay. All right, so lawful evil. Sorry, give me just a moment. Let me reset this for votes. Okay, so lawful evil. Lawful evil are those that have not necessarily the company's policies and the law and everything in place, but they definitely have some structure with which they follow. The comic book character Two-Face, never made a decision unless he flipped a coin. So he had a structure that was in place. Now, the end result was evil, but he couldn't deviate from that structure, okay? So, of course, we got that guy on the right. What do we do about lawful evil people? Okay? Now, again, in our definition of evil, I want to make sure that we're thinking these are people who are in it for themselves, okay? They're not mass murderers, Charles Manson, but they're just in it for themselves, and they will do things for them over the company, even if that means taking the company down, okay? So, lots of audit logs. Okay, if you got somebody that's like this, audit them. I know that it's going to be system heavy. I know that you're going to impact your bandwidth and your traffic. I know that you've got to set up a whole cluster of servers just to be able to store all of that for 3 hours. I get it, but it's these audit logs that are going to help you to focus in on whether or not anything nefarious is happening. Okay. When I say intentional access control, I'm saying these are the people that you truly give them only the access with which they need to get their job done. Box them in. Okay? Then they can't deviate into whatever actions they're going to take to benefit themselves. Okay? And then good succession planning. Because when you create a structure, a lawful structure that conflicts with theirs, they're going to leave. Okay, they won't enjoy the environment. They will be upset with anybody who's stopping them from doing good for the company, whatever it is. Have a good succession plan in place, because when they do leave, who's going to replace them and replace that effort? Yeah. Okay, so the question is, don't we want to exit these people as fast as we can anyway? Yeah, you can absolutely take that approach. What if, okay, so my thought was, what if your lawful evil was the owner? And He does things nefariously for his own benefit. And once somebody comes, I had one of these. Once somebody comes and all of the regulation bodies come in and start investigating, they just declare bankruptcy, shut the company down, and move on. Yes, you can definitely take that approach, find some way. I look at these people that when they're in it for themselves, they don't want to work very hard to do it. They're going to, if they find too many roadblocks for their ability to siphon money off the top or whatever the case may be, they're going to bounce themselves, go find easier prey. You can help and encourage them along in that, but again, I want to be careful in being clear what our definition of evil is. That it's not necessarily what our society deems as the word evil and mayhem and murder, but yes, we don't want people who are going to be trying to personally benefit or profit off of the organization. Good policies will help with some of that as well, and to give the proper book of discipline in order to be able to have rightful termination. But in my view, lawful evil people in that truly aren't your death and destruction and choke people just because they don't agree with you types, they'll leave because they don't like the rigidity of the organization because it conflicts. All right, who's next? True neutral. Lots of true neutral. Okay. Okay. True neutral. In our gaming world, nobody likes to play true neutral because nobody knows what to do with it. Well, okay, maybe that's not true. It takes a special type of player to play a true neutral. Anybody know who that middle historical figure is? Yes, Machiavelli, okay, the prince, okay. Fantastic read. It's old. Yeah, this is mid to late 1500s, so the language is a little bit different. But it really is a fantastic read on just leadership style. Okay. Well, what can we do with our true neutral people? Understanding, they're in it for themselves only so much as, or they're in it for the company only so much as it's not going to conflict with them. These are, and I use this word in the very best sense, apathetic. These are your employees who they'll show up at 9 o'clock, they'll do their job. Don't ask them to stay past 5 because they're going to go home. These are not necessarily, I need to have good work-life balance. It's just that work is work, home is home, play is play, and we need to have a good structure in that. And so they will do good work for the company, and they will help move the company forward so long as it doesn't interfere with their ability to get out and do other endeavors that they choose to do, okay? But doing some patching, if we make sure that, with these people, and I'm not saying that patching isn't good for any of these other alignments, but because they aren't hypervigilant and because they aren't trying to destroy the company, that having good patching, these are the ones that are more likely to just not be paying attention and click that email, click that link in the email, okay? Because whatever it was that was presented to them, they think at that moment is going to be the best for them, the company, their buddy that's in the cubicle next to them, whatever the case may be. And so if you do really good patching, you're going to put a good structure in place to protect against that, and again, using in the best sense of the word, apathy. Device configurations, again, this is about making sure that the device works the way you want to, not because they are nefarious or doing anything necessarily nefarious. This is going to help protect against the oops factor, okay? And then automation. Because they don't have that real drive, and we're going to have better sales this year, or we're going to help more people this year, that the rest of the organization has. If you can give them some automated tools to help them, they're going to be happy because it's going to be easier for them to be able to get out of there at 5 o'clock. Okay. All right, who's next? All right. I was wondering when those dots were going to swing up there. We have a few more? Yep. And it's still lawful good. Okay. Lawful good people. Lawful good people are not necessarily prudish. Okay. They just have a very strong moral compass, and they love to have structure to be able to meet those goals. Do I need to ask who the guy on the left is? Okay, good. My 16-year-old son, as I was kind of going through this last night, he looked down at our D&D character and he said, "He doesn't look lawful good." I don't know. I said paladin, and this is what came up. So, that first one. These people who are really, truly, they're lawful good. These are the ones that in gaming, when people want to play the chaotic neutral because they just want to do whatever they want to do, get really frustrated with those that are playing lawful good because the lawful good are always telling them what to do. You can't kill that kobold because it's just an animal. And but if you have a good, solid set of policies and procedures and what needs to be done, these people thrive in that environment. And they will do it. And they will learn their policies, and they will police themselves, and they will encourage those that are in their circles to do the same. Okay? And so if you're clear, okay, so you got to be clear. When I say good metrics, if you get whatever it is that you're trying to achieve at that time, and you get good metrics and good information brought, and you give it to these people, they will enjoy, okay, this is the area that needs to be worked on, and they'll go and they'll grab and they'll glom onto that, and they'll take those policies and procedures and they'll work it, and they'll give you feedback and say, if you change this checklist to say this, then, and these people will help to support you in your efforts. Okay, when I say regular team meetings, because this is the benefit of the whole, these are the people that like being around people. Okay, and the team meetings don't necessarily have to be in person. If you have a large remote force, that's fine too. Get on Zoom. Not even just for a meeting, but every Monday morning, everybody gets on to be able to talk about what they did over the weekend, etc. But that camaraderie, that esprit de corps that comes with it, these people really thrive on. All right. We'll let go one more round here, see who wins, lawful or chaotic. Looks like chaos is it. Okay, so our chaotic neutral. I can do whatever I want. Okay, who's our historical figure? Yeah, Blackbeard. Yeah, the great pirate that is shown in so many movies. Of course, everybody knows who's on the left there, and that young lady's because she looked chaotic to me. Okay, so again, they're going to do whatever it is they're going to do. I worked at a place, before my current employment, and had a very strong conversation with the CEO of the organization, the manager of the person and myself, where that person was saying, "You cannot tell me what to do. I haven't done anything bad. I haven't broken into anything that they shouldn't have. They haven't stolen any money. They aren't posting things on Facebook contrary to the company. They haven't broken any laws and they haven't violated any policy. But they are just, you cannot tell me what to do." Okay? Very, very difficult people to work with when you're trying to, especially in the cybersecurity and a risk posture, trying to protect the overall, okay? But if you just are really good about patching, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the guy who was just before me, was it Jeff? Talking about endpoint management and how people hate it. But good endpoint management to help alert for things that go wrong, because these people will go off the rails at a moment's notice. You might say in this case, gee, wouldn't you want to help move them out as well as quickly as possible? These may be very, very talented people. Years ago, I worked at a law firm that did debt recovery, and it's a collection industry. And there was an article and a study that was done on collectors. And they said that it's very, very common in the collection industry for collectors to be borderline psychotic. What was interesting about this article is it also said those were your best collectors. So, do you get rid of psychosis, or do you keep the collection efforts running smoothly? Okay, this is where we are. Okay, so it's really a good having a good balance. You can see that back one, robust backup and recovery, because they'll bring the whole system down. Okay, so test that backup and recovery process, lots. Make sure that you have good RPO and RTO defined. Okay, and then logging. Again, you can overlog yourself, so be very purposeful in what you want to log against. Maybe let's just pick our real critical systems to log on. but we just want to, we want the alerts as fast as we can when something is going off rails, so that way we can kind of rein it back in. All right, so we're kind of getting to the end of time here. I just want to kind of wrap up a few things. And then if you want to talk more, if you want to leave, I know it's the end of the day, but the ABCs of cybersecurity. If you've been in the industry for a little while, those ideas of what to protect against, they probably seem pretty familiar, okay? This is basic cyber hygiene, okay? And if you get really, really good at doing the basics, you're going to be able to put in a strong program that's going to take care of 85, 90% of the problems that you may have, okay? I like SAINTCON. I tell all of my family and friends that aren't technically inclined that SAINTCON is a really, really good way to get your geek on. It's fun. It's not rigid. It's real. You know, I was talking with Matt up in the speakers lounge, and he said it's just really chill. I like to come up and I like to present, and I'm in the very small minority because I don't talk technical talks, and I talk about people, and I talk about process, and I talk about culture, and I talk about the business side of IT. But in risk management, yeah, right by show of hands, because we all want to come work with you, who has all of the resources you need to take care of all of the initiatives that you want to do every year? Yeah, I didn't think anybody would raise their hand. We have limited resources, and we can only do so much with what we have, and so we can't necessarily protect against everything. And there's a lot of really good things that are happening here, and I so enjoyed the conversation we had just a couple hours ago in here about, multi-factor authentication and how you can get around that and be able to protect against that. And while it's true, and I sustain everything that he said, and I support it, and I'm behind it, and what's the likelihood? Is that really where we want to put all of our time and efforts and energies, is to trying to protect against ways that people can go around? Or can we put the effort into these basics? Yeah. There are some people internally that are going to try and take the company down, or they're going to try and improve their lot. They love to climb that corporate ladder, and they don't care who they step on to get there. We can help to support the organization, shape that culture that I'm talking about, so that way everybody is going to have some benefit without being too authoritarian, dictatorial in the process. All right? Huzzah! We're there. Congratulations, adventurers. You've completed the challenge. Thank you.